Hey, it's Azzer, and as you know, if you've watched my other videos, I recently went to DragonCon and I had a blast. But what you may not know is I actually volunteer at conventions, and this video is going to show you why you should also volunteer. But first I have to tell you a little bit about my con going history. You see, I started going to cons when I was about 11. And I'm 25 now, so you know that I've been going to cons for a very long time. About 6 years into going, they stopped being fun, so I actually skipped going to cons for a few years. And I didn't know why. Well, I found out the scientific reason why I stopped having fun, and that's actually called the opponent process theory. So this is the opponent process theory, and what the opponent process theory is when you experience a stimulus multiple times over time, the highs you get from that stimulus become lower, and the lows become even lower. So let's look at this within context of me going to conventions. So this is the first graph, and basically what the first graph is when you experience a stimulus normally. Think of this as like 11-year-old me when I was going to a convention for the first time. I kind of ride the weekend, get really high, have a great time. It's not as great as it gets later into the weekend, and then eventually you feel like crap afterwards. This is called con drop. It's very common in the con community. And then you go back to your regular normal day life. And this is me after going to cons for many years, and they stopped being fun. As you can see, the high that you get is not worth the effort of paying money and going to a con. And then, like, you know, you're back to normal, and then you feel like super crap with the con drop. And I just felt depressed, like I actually had depression. And then one random year I decided to work disability services, and this changed everything. Basically, working the con interrupted that whole process and made it where I could have more fun at conventions. That's not to say working cons is not fun. It just allowed me to have fun relative to the levels I had it before I started working them. Also, while that might be my only scientific reason, I do have social and economic reasons to why you should work a con. You see, when you work cons, you tend to work the same department at every con you go to because you're experienced. This creates little families, con families, where you can enjoy each other's company year after year. And I've made some great friends doing this. You see, we work cons to see each other. We don't call it like the con that it is. We say this is like DSCon 2014. And that's what makes it fun. You see, we deal with working with all these people every day to just have the moments where we're by ourselves, hanging out, going to dinner, and that's what makes it fun for us. In this age of social media where we're closer together yet further away from everyone we know and care about, isn't it great to have set dates where we see our friends? You also get a free badge when you work the con, and at some cons you get a free staff shirt like this one when you work it, but ultimately I listed this last because I think the other reasons are better for working the con. But for some people, they need to volunteer just so they can afford to go, and there's no shame in that. Now, I might have convinced you that you would want to work a con, but you're wondering, well, what can I do? Well, let me answer that question with a question. Do you breathe? If so, there is something for you to do at any convention. Now, going over every single job at a con will be a video in and of itself, but I'll go over the basics for you. Well, first there's con ops, and basically what that is things like security, registration, tech ops, things that help run the con, also including my favorite department, disability services. Next is programming, which is a little harder to get into if you want to run programming, because that's typically done at the creation of the con, but there is a way in. The way in is being a presenter, or if you're a skilled presenter, you're called an attending professional at some cons. Basically, that means you are actually responsible for running panels aside from panels that are run by attending guests. You provide the show. You are the show in a sense. Now, if you're mad, in the good special kind of mad, you can actually run a convention. If you think there's a vacuum where you could actually have a market for a new convention in your locality, you can do it. One of my friends, Jessica Merriman, who's probably like a geek hero to me, started a convention called MomoCon. And it started in a student center and is now ballooned to a 4-day con in Atlanta's largest convention center. Holy moly. You can do this. What her and her husband did is amazing. Now you might want to actually work a con or two before you go for trying to run your own. If you don't, you'll be giving people another hour in the ball pit. Also, there's a great wiki for if you want to run your own con. Just check the description, I'll have it linked there. Now you might ask me what I do for fun at cons when I'm not working. Again, working the con is fun to me. But I still do traditional con things. Like, for example, a friend of mine hosts a great room party that I go to every year. Not like that. Basically, it's just an adult get-together where we all relax and have a good time. It's probably been the highlight of my cons for the last few years, and I thank him and his wife for running it every year. It's truly a lot of fun to me. Also, I try to get a game of Cards Against Humanity in with complete strangers because that's always fun, and I just kind of people watch and do the standard con things, maybe see a panel, maybe not. You know, it's a con, there's plenty to do even when you're working for most of it, and really, there's a lot of space in cons where there's just downtime, where you're not sure what you want to do, and you can fill that with work. Well, I hope I convinced you to give working a con a try. It is a lot of fun. But I will say this, if you've never really gone to cons, you should go to them as an attendee first before working them, so you actually understand what attendees feel when you're working. You have to understand the other side of things. And also, it's a lot of fun. It can be overwhelming if you just go in there working. You gotta get used to con culture. Anyway, this is Azworth. I hope you have a good day, good health, peace.